Hey YouTube, welcome back. Today we're talking about the four universal, basic, general, whatever you want to call it, the four universal rules of gun safety. We don't have time for Norm's shenanigans today, so we're going to skip right past those. Like, subscribe, comment down below, engage with our channel as well as all other gun channels. Show YouTube is a valuable part of their business. This video is obviously made for people that are just getting into guns or people that don't know guns very well. And so it's meant to be for the much more basic, much more, hey, this is the absolute beginner trying to learn, wanting to go to the gun range for the first time, whatever it may be. I want to know how to be safe, to keep myself safe and to keep others safe. And these four rules are universally accepted pretty much across all gun ranges, the gun community in general, that if you keep these four rules, you're pretty much doing what you need to do to be safe, to keep yourself safe, and to keep everyone else safe around you. Especially if you're going to a range, a public range, or something else like that, where there are going to be people shooting next to you. If you're keeping these four rules, you're likely going to keep everybody safe. And you as well want everyone else to be keeping these same rules as well. So let's get into it. The first rule of gun safety, the first universal rule of gun safety is to treat all guns as if they are loaded. Now that seems basic. These four rules are going to be basic. But my gosh, I've been to so many ranges and been around so many people where they don't keep this one rule. If you were to just treat a gun as though it's loaded all the time, then you're never going to run into an issue. You're never going to flag somebody. You're never going to be dangerous. You're never going to be pulling the trigger while pointing it at somebody. Nothing like that. You're going to be very safe because you're going to keep your finger off the trigger. You're going to keep away. You're going to know, hey, this is loaded. Even though you may know it's not, you're going to keep it in the most safe possible manner that you can. And so that is the number one rule. Obviously, the other three are just as important, but this one is the one that everyone will talk about. Just treat it as though it's loaded because you won't do the things you may do if you are treating it as though it's loaded. Okay, the second rule, I'd say this one is equally as important, just as they all are, is to keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are aligned and you are ready to shoot. Typically, that means at a target or whatever you're shooting at, you want to make sure that your finger is off that trigger, and that usually means up here in this manner, right? Down here, you may find yourself putting your finger on the trigger, but if you keep it way up here, you're never going to do that. You're just going to keep it safe. Your finger is going to be nowhere near that trigger, and you're going to be in a good place. When you go into a range, there are new things, right? It's a brand new experience for a lot of you, and there's loud noises, there's you're nervous, you've never really shot guns, there's a lot going on. And so if you just know, hey, I'm going to make sure that I'm treating this gun as though it's always loaded, and I'm going to keep my finger off that trigger at all times, you're not going to have any problems where if there's a loud noise going off and you accidentally pull the trigger. So let's talk about the third rule of gun safety, and that is don't point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. Right? So if we're treating as though it's loaded, we're going to pretend in our minds all the time that the gun is always loaded and it's always dangerous. So I'm never going to point it at my face, and even if I know that, hey, I've checked it, it's unloaded, it's good, I'm never going to point it at my face because, you know what, I'm not willing to destroy my face or anything. And anything like that, right? And same rule applies to so many other things. If you're not willing to destroy other things around you, whether that be other guns that you have that you're manipulating or just people around you, whatever. If you're not willing to destroy that thing, just don't point the gun at it, right? You always want to be pointing at a safe direction. Now, obviously, we need to transport guns. If you go to the gun range or to the gun shop, or if you go to other places, you're going to be picking up guns and even pulling the trigger, dry firing a little bit. You need to be making sure that you are pointing in a direction that is safe and that it's something that you're willing to destroy. Because quite frankly, so many of these negligent discharges are because somebody is not paying attention, they're not keeping the first two rules that we've mentioned, and then they're pointing at places that they shouldn't be pointing it at, and it causes some serious issues. So it seems like a very basic thing, they all are, but so many people, I don't know if they get overwhelmed or whatever it is, or they just don't care, they start to break some of these rules, and that's where problems start to happen. That's where you hear about these accidental shootings, people shoot themselves or whatever. And you just want to avoid that. Okay, let's talk about the fourth rule. The fourth rule is one that's also basic, but it's also something that you don't necessarily think about, and that is to be aware of what your target is and what's beyond it, and quite honestly, what's in front of it. Because there may be things between you and your target, especially if you're shooting longer distances. You want to make sure that you're not putting anyone else in danger or anything in danger. And you want to know what your target is. You don't want to be shooting at something that could cause danger to you, shooting at the wrong kind of target, the wrong kind of steel, the wrong kind of whatever it may be, and cause danger to you or to somebody else again. And then what's beyond it, right? So if you're shooting, especially if you're shooting long distances or if you're shooting anything really, and you don't know what's over the hill or you don't know what's going on beyond your target, you could, there could be houses back there. There could just be people back there. There could be other people shooting, right? You don't know what's back there necessarily. And so you want to make sure, hey, I'm going to go check that out, make sure that I'm not putting anyone else in danger. And quite frankly, you're liable for wherever the bullet goes, whatever the bullet does. So if you hit somebody and kill somebody a mile away, 2 miles away, whatever it is, because you shot way too high and it went too far, you're going to be in trouble for that. And so that's something you always want to keep in mind, shooting in a safe direction, making sure you put redundancies in. Obviously, this applies more to shooting outside without a range, without an organized range that has specific places to shoot. But it applies nonetheless, because so many people will take friends out who haven't been shooting before and they don't go over that kind of thing. And so make sure that you know that. Obviously, if you're in a range, whether that's indoor or outdoor, you want to make sure that you're always keeping these 4 rules, because there's going to be people directly next to you. And if just for 1 second don't keep one of those rules, you could be putting people in danger. If you go to an indoor range, actually, almost every indoor range I've ever been to, if you look at the ceiling, you can tell that people have shot into the ceiling many, many times because they're not keeping one of these rules. It's really just that simple. If you keep those 4 rules, you're going to keep yourself safe and you're going to keep others safe. So just to recap, you want to treat all guns as though they're always loaded. That way you never run into a problem. It's when people start to get careless on that they start to cause problems. You want to keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. Sights are aligned, you're on target, you're ready to shoot. You want to make sure that you don't point the gun at anything that you're not willing to destroy, and that includes anything and everything in the world, right? Only things you're willing to destroy. And then obviously you want to be aware of what your target is, what's in front of it, and what's beyond it, and you're keeping everybody safe. Obviously there are more things you can do than that, but these 4 rules are going to keep you within the guidelines, making sure that your first experience or millionth experience, whatever it is, going shooting, that you are going to be safe and that you don't have to be as nervous. If you're keeping these things, it'll take one thing off of your mind that you're being nervous about for the first time. I remember the first few times I went shooting, I was a little bit nervous. I didn't quite know what to expect. There's so many new things happening, loud noises, people that all seem like they know what they're doing, and you're brand new, you don't have any clue. Keeping these rules, or at least memorizing them, there was only 4 of them, right? Memorizing is going to help you to have one less thing to worry about at the range. I hope, guys, that this was useful. I hope that that there was value in it. Like, subscribe, like I said earlier, comment down below, show YouTube that this is a valuable part of their business and they don't want to neglect the gun community, and we will see you next time.